Sunil. So you joined me for round one of the draft, majority of it anyways. So I know your thoughts, kind of how it went that night. Obviously, the 49ers didn't make any picks. We were on Debo Samuel watch. Nothing ended up happening there. But you and I really haven't talked since the rest of the draft happened. So I want to know, and very, very vague, right? But what were your overall draft thoughts? Like, just give me your immediate reactions, how you felt in the moment as the draft was happening.
Yeah, look, I've been pretty consistent this offseason with there's something that I would do. And then I've been, for the most part, just kind of putting my mind in reading what the front office and just what their plan is. And I've been pretty consistent with the fact that I think they're sticking to their game plan. And their game plan is fully just filling in depth as much as possible with young, healthy talent. And so when it came to the draft, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I think it was very on brand. And I was just, no real big, like, super surprises. They did in the first 3 rounds. They usually reach for a position that they deem a need. And you saw that they went after a running back that was higher than maybe some people would have expected them to pick a running back. They went after a wide receiver. But, I did a show on Friday, and I pretty much mentioned that I thought with their first pick in the second round, they were going to go defensive line. They went defensive line. Second round, I said, this is the crapshoot where they go safety, inside linebacker, or wide receiver. They ended up going wide receiver and running back. So it's pretty on point with what I expected. I think they did a phenomenal job with their undrafted free agents. But it just is going to be an exciting training camp. Jesse, like, a lot of competition is going to be there to make that 53-man roster. And I think it's going to bode well for the team overall.
Do you think, first of all, this is a great comment. Red and black lumberjack with the hat to match. That's beautiful. Good job, like 49ers breakdown. Early favorite in the clubhouse with the comment. But do you think the 49ers took the right approach? Do you like the approach they took? Because it really felt like they had a game plan, like you said, but they seemed to go more best available rather than filling the needs that they had. Because I'll tell you this, Sunil, if I had put out a mock draft and the 49ers in that mock draft did not pick an interior offensive lineman, a safety, or a nickel corner with their first 3 picks, I might have been canceled on the internet. But when the 49ers did it, everybody seemed to love it. So what are your thoughts overall about the approach they took in the draft?
Yeah, once again, I think I'm with you. What I thought they were going to do, or what I thought they should do, versus what they look at is different. And I think that's been the biggest confusion when it comes to the faithful and when it comes to the front office. I believe that the front office has been very consistent, that they're very happy with this roster. All of the positions that we deemed huge positions of need for them, they feel like they've already filled. And so they're just going after depth, and they're building the team that they want. And as far as, like, do I agree with it, Jesse? I do. And I kind of talked about this on Jack's show right now. So anybody that's carried over, sorry for me being redundant with this, but I think there's this, there's a lot of the faithful right now, Jesse, that have never seen the 49ers win a Super Bowl. And because of that, there's this term that has been thrown around, like, all in and going after premium talent. And 49ers are thinking this is a horrible offseason because they didn't do what the Chargers did. And they're not maximizing, a quarterback on his rookie contract and all that kind of stuff. Because they're like, you go all in, win a Super Bowl. And as long as you win a Super Bowl, I'm happy. Even if they don't win a Super Bowl again for another 20 years. I've seen the 49ers win a Super Bowl, Jesse. And I've also seen the last 2 decades of the 49ers being atrocious at times with a couple of pockets. The Jim Harbaugh time where the team was consistently good. And then it's now. And I think that there's this thought process that if you win a Super Bowl, that there's this, like, level of whatever, even if the team isn't good after that it's still going to be all good because that Super Bowl doesn't wear off. It wears off, my guy. I'm much happier with the team that's consistently competing for a Super Bowl, that can win a Super Bowl and continue to win Super Bowls. And I think that's what the 49ers regime is doing right now. they're developing a dynasty. And although it's not the instant success that maybe some faithful want to see because it's getting close, once they take that step, actually win a Super Bowl, they're going to continue to be competitive because they keep re-upping with young talent that's going to be on cheaper deals where they could still make good moves in the offseason to bring in premium talent because they draft so well. So I like it.
All right. So you seem to like the draft. Is there any pick that you didn't like as much?
I mean, I was the guys that I wanted them to pick, they ended up picking an undrafted free agent. So I'm not mad at anything. Like Donovan West was somebody that was on a lot of my drafts. I picked him in the 3rd or 4th round. They got him as an undrafted free agent. Poe was another guy that was on a lot of my drafts. They got him as an undrafted free agent. I'm like, and then they picked a whole bunch of guys that I wasn't even looking at. But when you look at their tape, you're like, man, these guys are actually perfect for the system. So yeah, there's a reason why they're them, and I am on So Real Sports Talk TV, just with 830 subscribers. They know what they're doing, and that's why they run the organization, and I just talk about it.
All right, so there wasn't, because I'll be real with you, when they took Ty Davis Price, I lost it, absolutely lost it. You can go check the reaction. We did a stream in the draft. You weren't there that night, Sunil. But I lost it. It made no sense to me. Now, it's not the player. It's not like I dislike the player. And I did, for those of you that are members to the channel, we do weekly breakdowns of players. I just did one of Ty Davis Price, so you can go watch that, LSU versus Alabama, and you can get my full thoughts there about the player. It's not like I dislike the player overall, but to go there at 93, and what was frustrating was there were a lot of guys that we looked at safety, whether it was Nick Cross, who was the kid from, I think it was Syracuse.
Kirby Joseph.
Yeah, Kirby Joseph. He went, so it was, Illinois. So it was Nick Cross went to the Colts 3 picks later, and then the very next pick was Kirby Joseph to the Lions. So the league thought that those guys were right to be taken in that area. The 49ers had a chance at either one. Maybe they don't like Nick Cross as much. Maybe they like Kirby Joseph or vice versa. They could have gotten one, and they got neither. So that was a little weird to me. And here's the crazy thing is, I think most people, when they did their mocks, they had the 49ers taking a running back at some point. They just had them doing it much later, whether it was a Ty Chandler or the kid out of South Dakota State or whatever. There was multiple players that could have been taken later that did end up falling that a lot of us thought could fit that role. So for me, I hated that pick in the moment. I've watched the kid play. Again, it has nothing to do with his skill set. I still don't like the pick. I just think it was way, way too early. And for me, it tells me that maybe Trey Sermon is not liked that much by this team. Maybe I'm wrong here, but when I look at the 49ers, if that is the case, you've got multiple running backs that Shanahan has fallen in love with that they've traded up for. And every single one, if they don't like Trey Sermon up to this point, has been an absolute dud, never really played for the 49ers. And then I'm supposed to expect that they fall in love again with the kid early, and this one's supposed to work out. That is a bit worrisome to me. Did you have any of those thoughts or different thoughts when it came to that pick that night?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It is high for a running back, especially all of us thought they would more go with their 5th or 6th round, especially with what they got with Elijah Mitchell. But I don't know if this necessarily is an issue with Trey Sermon. I think that the 49ers have started to draft, and we've seen this over the last 2 years. I would say last year was the first year and not this year. They're not drafting for players to make immediate impacts in the first year that they're drafted in. I think the Elijah Mitchell having the success that he has is more of the exception to the rule than the actual rule. If Mostert was still healthy, I don't think we see a lot of Elijah Mitchell, and we probably don't know how good he is because Mostert is getting a bulk of those carries. So I just think you saw this with Lenoir, played sparingly and then is out. Ambry Thomas played sparingly, and then, kind of was, in and out of the lineup. And you saw with Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore, like these rookies are coming in, getting a little bit of experience. Even Trey Lance, little bit of experience, but when push comes to shove, they're going with the veteran player over the rookies, and kind of keeping these rookies on a short leash. So I even if Davis Price is brought in, I don't necessarily mean that's because Trey Sermon is somebody they don't believe in. I just think they want more healthy bodies. And I think Trey Sermon is going to get a lot of run this year, as long as he takes the coaching that was given to him last year and comes back with the things that the coaching staff wanted him to do better. And I think Davis Price is just there as an insurance policy, just in case injuries happen, because we've seen they were ravaged with injuries in that running back room last year. Elijah Mitchell missed 6 games. Sermon was out a few games. And then, Hasty was injured. Wilson was injured. So you can't get enough healthy bodies. So whether Davis Price is somebody that makes an impact this year, I think they're starting to draft for the next few years and not just for how the team impacts this year. And I think that's where a lot of the turmoil comes from, the faithful and what this front office is doing. I don't think the faithful has caught up with that. They think that they're drafting for this year. Even Drake that they picked probably won't be a starter this year, Jesse. It's going to be somebody that, next year is probably going to see more of what he does. And once again, it's that the faithful that is in that whole we need to win now, all in type things, that doesn't understand the long play that I think this front office plays when it comes to the draft and their offseason.
Yeah, and here was my thing is I kept being told that was best player available, right? And that's the route the 49ers should take. And I don't disagree with that. Going BPA is always a good thing, because you're right. You've got to have depth, right? And teams that win always have good depth, because there's going to be that war of attrition. So I felt like, all right, first pick, certainly best player. Danny Gray, all right, I could see why he would be best player available. But when it came to Ty Davis Price, it's like that didn't fit a need. And I don't think that was BPA either, right? So to me, that's where I got thrown off the scent. Now, as the draft went along, there were certainly players that I like, and I'll give the pick that I like the most, and maybe you have somebody different. But for me, Samuel Womack, I really, really liked that pick because he fits a mold much like a Marcus Jones that I really wanted the 49ers to take. Now, obviously, they didn't go with Marcus Jones, but Samuel Womack is 5'9", 189 pounds, ran a 4.39 40, had 17 pass breakups. He led the MAC in pass breakups in 19, 20, and 21, and he labeled himself a press man, lockdown press man corner, which is exactly the direction that this team is going with some of the corners that they've got on the roster. So to me, I absolutely love that pick. Yes, it's much later, but it's a kid I hadn't heard of, but once I did my research on him, I was absolutely sold on the pick. I could see why the 49ers would take him. It did fill a need, and he definitely could have been best player available. So I didn't hate the whole draft. I certainly liked a lot of pieces of it, but to me, the one pick that really stood out was Samuel Womack. What pick to you stood out the most?
Yeah, I know this is probably a cop-out. But out of the people that they drafted, it was Drake. I think that he's going to be phenomenal under Kocurek. I think just his raw talent is the highest that has been drafted on the defensive line in some time. I think just his raw athletic ability and the fact that he doesn't need to come in right away and be an impact player, meaning he could just come in and be a specialist on a few downs. And, even if he plays 20, 30% of the snaps in his first year, but come next year when, Bosa's all cylinders and, a lot of these defensive linemen aren't under contract for next year. Now you got this bona fide guy who's a year into being trained by Kocurek. He could be a guy that you can see getting 8 to 10 sacks consistently for this 49ers defense. And I think that's huge to have that type of ability in somebody that's so raw, that has played multiple positions on the defense and, just has the athletic ability that he has. And then I just love what they did in their undrafted free agents, man. I love Donovan West. I love Jason Poe. I love Leon O'Neal. I just so many guys that they just brought in that I thought were going to be guys that were on my mock drafts consistently that they got in undrafted free agents. I just think overall, the way that this team finds talent in the draft is just phenomenal to me. I think this is one of the best drafting regimes in the league right now. And it shows by the amount of impact players that they pick, how many of the people they draft continue to stay on the team, and how many all pros they've been able to draft no matter where they are on their draft board.